So the objectives for today's session are to understand and appreciate the national, state, and local challenges and opportunities affecting language access for limited English proficient, or as commonly known in California, LEP court users. And to gain programmatic, organizational, and operational solutions to advance effective and comprehensive language access in state courts. So, how many people need an interpreter just to interpret what that session means? So, to try to keep you awake, get your energy up a little bit, we're going to start with a little trivia session here. And our lovely assistants, Tricia and Raul, are handing out responders. So we're going to do some little pop quiz trivia and ask you all to record your response, and then we'll see how much you all know about language access in the courts.
I don't know about that side, Tara.
Ready? Okay. Everybody have your responder? Sounds like you're on Jeopardy, right? According to the 2010 U.S. Census, the foreign-born population is estimated at A, less than 30 million, B, 35 million, C, 40 million, or D, over 45 million. So press the button that corresponds to what your guess would be.
How many do we have?
How many do we have? Did you count?
No. About 16 or 17.
Goodness, something's going
17.
on out there.
17.
Okay.
17. So,
Uh-oh.
do I press a button?
That's okay. Fine.
I need some technical assistance. We have 17 responses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm.
And the answer is C. But we want to know. I did.
Did you press no?
There's nothing here to click. Can I go back? No?
There we go.
Woo! So it looks like more of you actually chose D, 45 million, right? 35% of you chose C, and the correct answer is C. So, very good. You got that to work. So we'll try this again on the next one. For the period 2010 through 2013, the state with the largest percentage increase in foreign language speakers was Idaho, North Dakota, Oklahoma, or Washington. Do we have anybody in here from any of those states? Washington. So the rest of you, it's just a guess, right? 15, 16, one more. 17, there we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow, look at that. 35% guessed Washington. 29 Oklahoma. 29% North Dakota. And the correct answer is B, North Dakota. Right? That's interesting, isn't it? Nobody in here from
Yeah.
North Dakota? I don't know that I've ever met anybody at a NACM conference from North Dakota. Suppose they must have courts there. What is the fastest growing ethnic group in the United States? Asian, Hispanic, Native American, or Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, or Pacific Islander? Do we have any of those groups in here today?
18.
Oh, 18. Okay.
Did we get one?
There we
18.
go. Mhm, we
All
did.
right. Wow, look at that. 83% say Hispanic is the fastest growing ethnic group in the United States. It's pretty big, 83%. Correct answer is Asian. Yeah.
There's candy, by the way. You can reward yourselves.
Right.
According to a 2011 study on language used in the United States, of the people that spoke a non-English language at home, what percentage reported they either do not speak English well or they do not speak English at all? 10, 16, 22, or 33? Nice. 56% of you said 22%. That's right. Yay, you're all winners. Well, 56% of you are winners. The rest of you are bad guessers, right? According to Ethnologue, Languages of the World, how many living languages exist today? And I bet that number shocks all of you just looking at it, right?
Any of them.
Yeah, any of them. % of you said 9,867. And the correct answer is 7,102, 11%. Do most of the group in here, I'm sure the only reason you're here in this fascinating topic, right, is that you all manage interpreters or interpreter services, or you are looking at trying to expand your interpreter services units. Which of the following languages is indigenous to Mexico or Central America? And Raul can pronounce these better than me.
Garifuna, Tricky, or all of the above?
All of the above, overwhelming, and you are all winners. Yay. What is a web-based map application built to display language data from the American Community Survey? GeoLang, LangNet, Language Mapper, or Language Tracker? Any of you familiar with any of these terms? Do we have the link? Okay. One more. Ooh.
One more?
Too late. 41% said Language Mapper. The correct answer is Language Mapper. Are you all familiar with that application? It did sound good, right? When we were testing this, I think we thought GeoLang. We liked GeoLang. That
Those
sounded.
are just all creative names made up by Raul.
Yes. So for anybody that's not familiar with that web-based website, we have a little demonstration of what it looks like here. It's pretty cool, actually. Are you controlling that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so Raul is controlling our mouse here. So you can go onto the website and you can drill down by language or by area and see what the census shows on the language, the primary language, or if you have French Creole in an area and you want to see. So that is Spanish. One dot equals approximately 100 people that are Spanish speakers in the house, correct?
So it's basically density of language speakers all over the country, and there are 15 languages that are surveyed. And it gives you all of the language and also those that speak less than well, which is useful for us because that's the population that we serve. So if you change it to Spanish speaks English less than very well, what happens? For Spanish, probably not that big of a difference, but for some of the other languages, it might be different.
And we do have links at the end of the PowerPoint. There's a page where it has links to all of these different websites and different tools. It's kind of interesting to go in there and take a look and see what's happening in your area. So there's your Chinese population. There's nobody in, was that Utah? Okay, we'll close that out. The Council of Language Access Coordinators is a partnership of member states whose mission is to share resources to develop and promote language access initiatives. Is this true or false? We should 13, 15, right? 2 more. There you go. No, 17. 1 more. Okay, too late. 88% of you said that's true. 12% of you said that's false. It's actually true. The Council of Language Access Coordinator is a partnership of member states whose mission is to share resources. And it's actually, you can find the information on the National Center's website, as Raul was brought up here. And they just had a conference recently, right, in Santa Fe.
New Mexico.
And so it's where you can send all of your interpreter type managers and supervisors to do what we do here, right, at NACM. You get the managers all together and you share resources and information and ideas. This is specific to language access. So if you're not familiar with it, go on the National Center's website and check it out, right?
Okay.
Language access challenges. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the challenges that you all have, that we all have in our courts. Okay.
Okay, so there are some building blocks of good language access plan, and we're going to divide you up into groups. Raul and Kathy are going to assist with that, and you each are going to have a building block. And what we want you to do is look at that particular area and come up with optimal solutions for your particular challenge. We're going to have them up here in a minute. So interpreter training. As most of you know who deal with interpreters, it's very hard to train interpreters because they spend most of their day in the courtroom. So it's a challenge when you come up on new case types and you expand in interpreters in those areas, such as civil and those types of things, to get those interpreters some training. Credentialing and testing. So in California, the Administrative Office of the Courts, or Judicial Council, is responsible for credentialing and testing interpreters. However, there's no subsequent testing available if you get reports that an interpreter isn't performing. So, maybe some ideas along those lines on how we can fix that. Prioritization and allocation of interpreter resources. So we are probably all trying to expand interpreter services into different areas of litigation, and we want ideas on how do you do that? How do you make that happen with the limited resources that we have? Another one is interpreter scheduling. So many of you are dealing with memorandum of understandings that really, I guess, present some challenges in how we schedule our interpreters. Maybe not. We just happen to have some pretty sticky rules in California with the Interpreters Union. So judicial staff and education. So as we expand into different areas of litigation, the judges and staff really aren't used to dealing with interpreters on a regular basis because we haven't normally provided interpreters in those areas. So how do you get your judicial, your bench trained and the staff trained? Remote and virtual language assistance. What ideas do you have to expand in those types of areas to assist with expansion in those types of things? So we are going to divide you up into groups, like I said. Pick a spokesperson, because then we're going to go around the room and share the ideas you come up with. There's easels located throughout the room. So write down maybe 3 to 5 ideas. We're going to come back in about 5 minutes and have everyone share their ideas.
Maybe 3 or 4 at each card.
Building block.
You're building, right. Kind of optimum solutions to those challenges. Okay, I'm going to get us to regroup so that we can share our ideas and move on with the presentation. So we'll just go around the room. And we will start with interpreter training. So, right, Sean's the spokesperson. Oh, we should give.
Yes. We may need to turn it on.
Can you? I think that's on.
Testing. Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Lillywhite from Orange County, California. Used to work with Tricia, actually. So for interpreter training, we had good discussion. We only got 2 items written down, but it's okay because they kind of worked into the third thought that I had. The accredited training to use towards interpreter license renewal is convenient, and we suggest, if possible, do brown bag lunches. Of course, when you have employees, you can't necessarily require the brown bag lunches. You have to just make them voluntary, make them available usually, because if you do require it, you got to pay them for it, flex it or OT it. But that is a good idea, along with the other thought was with regard to the new technologies that are coming through on remote video and telephonic interpreting present new challenges that require additional training that, for example, interpreters are trained just simply on vocabulary for the most part, and their modes of interpretation, sometimes, subject matter, etc. Okay, as long as we're still got power. But now that you introduce this new technology element, you find that it can create problems, unintended problems, like the lights going off. And the example was given in Minnesota. The court reporters were having a hard time reporting, getting down the official record, when the interpreters, I guess, were not aware of what was going on in the courtroom, were speaking too fast. And so the court reporter in the courtroom wasn't able to get down the official record. So there's going to be some logistics things like that are going to come up, I think, as remote video and telephonic interpretation is used more and more, that interpreters need to be aware of how to operate these new systems. So that, I would think, would be more of a sponsored, and maybe during court time for employees and for contractors, maybe some sort of special event. And then the third idea that we didn't get written down was kind of a combination of this. The court actually sponsoring something that, and we did this just the other day with the University of California, Irvine, the Supreme Court law in term in review. They do this annually, and we filed the application with the Judicial Council for credit, and then we just shared the information with all the interpreters in our area and said, if you're able to attend this, it was during lunch, we filed an application, and I just got the approval today, and I just sent it out to everybody that it got approved. So anybody who attended that got their hour and a half. It was a lunchtime thing, credit towards their renewal, certification renewal. So the court can play an integral part, I think, in helping to enhance the training, and by sponsoring and making available time for them to get their training. Because otherwise they have to go out and they have to pay for it. So anytime they can get something for free, it's like, yeah.
Even if they have to give up their lunch hour.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Okay, so we're going to come over here. This is testing and certification.
Well, I've been coming to NACM since 2008, and it's the first time I've been in a session that's this interactive. So thanks for keeping us all awake
great.
After lunch.
Good.
I'm Jonathan Mattiello. I'm the Executive Director of the State Justice Institute. SJI funds grants to state courts. This is John Nalbandian. He's a board member on the SJI board. And we have Gene here from Lubbock County, Texas. We had interpreter testing. Language access issues are one of our priority investment areas at SJI. We talked about the funding for retesting, or both for those interpreters who have not been able to pass the initial test, or retesting after several years have passed and it's time for the retest. That's clearly an issue, trying to find that. Passing the test and the need to increase the number of passing folks that can pass the test. That was a significant issue. We saw this in Washington State, where they had a lot of interpreters who were really right on the cusp of passing the test, but just needed a few more points to get across. So they really focused on those that almost passed and trying to give them additional training and assistance so that they could retake the test and hopefully improve the number of interpreters that pass that test. So again, providing the additional training to get them over the hump. One idea we discussed here right at the end was interpreter certification by case complexity. So for example, not necessarily, your highest scoring interpreters would be on the murder trial, some of the bigger high profile, whereas perhaps you don't need that for maybe some of the lower types of cases. It's actually the first I've really thought about that before, so I don't really have an opinion yet, but it's something to think about. And then one idea we're pushing, SJI is pushing on a national level, and I think within the next year this solution will be up and running, and I hope you will all think about taking advantage, is the VRI, Virtual Remote Interpreting National Capability, which is going to plug in, all of you have probably heard about this, but the states have been providing the certification list of interpreters to this database that the National Center is pulling together, and there's going to be a vendor that will provide the video remote hookup to these interpreters, both in-state and out-of-state. And the idea behind this is that you'll be able to plug into an interpreter remotely. All you need is the cameras and the equipment in the courtroom, rather than having to spend the travel costs and everything to have the interpreter come to the court for 10 or 20 minutes. So this national solution is going to go live within the next year, but it'll allow you to have that access both both in your state and outside your state, and especially when you're having trouble getting enough interpreters who are certified. You can reach out and use this national capability as a solution.
Great, thank you so much. Okay. Okay, we're going to talk about prioritization. Oh, I'm sorry.
Remote and virtual language.
Oh, okay. Remote and virtual language assistance. Thank you.
So I was nominated as the speaker, I guess. So we have a representative from Pennsylvania, from DC, and I'm from Orange County. I do not manage or oversee interpreters. I'm Director of Operations, so Sean is our expert for Orange County, but I'm interested in the topic. So we talked a little bit about certification for remote interpreters, which can be a challenge. Some of them, even though they are certified, I know you had mentioned that your Supreme Court really does not accept certain type of certification for remote interpreting.
They're directly involved in the certification process.
So okay.
Meet their test.
The other ideas we talked about was expanding the use of language line, which I think is commonly used. Frequently in more of the case processing clerk's offices, it's easier to do that. Very challenging to do that in our courtrooms. I know for Orange County and in California, there's issues with the union and pulling in language interpreters over the line, over the phone line, besides having them in interpreting for actual hearings. The one issue that came up in a prior experience I had in juvenile court were concerns about having an interpreter on the line and not having that personal connection with the defendant in the cases. So that became an issue in another county. So I don't know if that's something that continues to be an issue or not. And also expanding the use of video, web, along the lines of what you mentioned, VRI, and how to be able to do that efficiently and provide quick access.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, you're the designated spokesperson.
I'm not allowed by the lights.
So this is Judicial and Staff Education.
Yeah, there you go. I'm Ron Fickerode. I'm the Chief Judge in Tampa, Florida, and I used to be the chair of the Florida Court Interpreter Certification Board. And we've had assistance from court administrator in Little Rock and Arkansas, and my friend from across the bay in St. Petersburg, Florida, Inez. And our topic was judicial and staff education. And what we've done in Florida is we have a bench book on court interpreting that we provide to judges, and also we have a block for them at Judicial College, and occasionally at our annual judicial conference we'll put on a block for them as well on some of the information that they need to know. And of course judges love cheat sheets, laminated cheat sheets like this. So that goes out to all the judges as well. As far as staff, because you hit the nail on the head, you know, the court clerk's got to know about it, the bailiffs, court reporter, everything's got to be on board with that. And we provide in-house training either locally in the courtrooms, in the courthouses for them at the local level, or at their various conferences we provide training for them as well on how to deal with interpreter issues. So that's that.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, you're the spokesperson here, and so you have interpreter scheduling.
Yes, I'm Todd Tesolino. I'm the Chief Deputy Court Administrator from Ocala, Florida. And this subject was really great because we currently went through it, and we revamped everything that we do, and we have website scheduling now, which our Chief Judge told all the local attorneys that they are in charge of, except for pro se parties. So we still get those phone calls from the pro se people, and they still come in. But if you have an attorney, they are required to schedule a court interpreter in advance via our website. Also, we did, like I said, training at the local bar meetings. We have 5 counties, so every month we go to the meeting and we got the word out on how to schedule a court interpreter and what's required. And whenever we get a request, we email the attorney back, and we thank them for sending the request in, and we tell them the interpreter's name, who's going to be there, so they know it's fulfilled. We also have a live interpreter for first appearance, arraignments, pre-trials. We have usually 2 court interpreters at every trial, sometimes 3, because it's mentally draining for our court interpreters. And we also have court interpreters at during the sentencing phase. We've cross-trained all of our court interpreters because we span 5 counties, and we're geographically the size of the state of Connecticut. It's very important that the interpreters understand the local decorum that's associated with each county. And we also translated the commonly used forms in Spanish, and we're working on doing that in Creole. And we usually request at least 2 business days for Spanish and 7 for other exotic languages.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, and so now we have prioritization of interpreters. And Kathy's going to speak on this.
I'm curious. I have my so the website scheduling, they schedule in advance, and that works. Do you have a large no-show rate on your litigants that show up and you've scheduled an interpreter, or not so much?
No, we ran into it maybe twice.
Okay.
But whenever there's a no-show, usually our general counsel is that we return the phone call.
Okay.
So usually it doesn't happen.
Okay. So
It's only attorneys doing the scheduling right now. Yeah.
Okay. Can't really cry wolf. Okay. So we had the building block prioritization and allocation of interpreter resources, and we had Ty from Florida and Angela from Kentucky here, and both of them looked at me like I was nuts because they each, it appears, don't really have any issues with their resources, right? I think you said that they're you have a statewide.
I was trying to figure out, just because I guess different counties and different states obviously have different populations and different needs. We're very fortunate here in Louisville. We have a pretty nice size need for interpreters, but we've got a nice base to kind of match. So we provide interpreters for all forms of court, circuit, district, family, juvenile, probate. We do civil and criminal, and you submit a request to court staff, and the judicial staff contacts me, and I schedule it, we keep it on the calendar, follow up. So at first I was like, oh, I understand what the problem is. It's never place like this. It just so happens, I think our needs and what we have kind of match right now. So
Right. And I was letting her know in Los Angeles County we have 300 employee interpreters, another 200 plus independent contractors, and we still don't have enough resources. We're still shuffling them around because we have 38 locations across the county. So we're shuffling them around and trying to, it's like herding cats, right? Trying to keep them busy, and then the commute time in LA from Lancaster to Pomona could be 4 hours depending on traffic. And then Ty says that they have a kind of the same thing. I think you can request the interpreter in advance.
That's correct. We do have at our disposal contract services. Attorneys sometimes will notify court administration that an interpreter is required if we get sufficient notice. We are very likely to find an interpreter for that specific hearing. When it is a more difficult language, perhaps it's Haitian Creole, or even an
Raul, you want to tell them about your Haitian Creole?
So thank you, Florida, because we were faced with a situation, murder trial, the star witness speaks Haitian Creole, and the only Haitian Creole interpreter in Southern California is out of the country. I reached out to the Council of Language Access Coordinators listserv, and we got a referral from Florida, and today.
This happened today at lunch.
This was happening today.
Yes.
They finalized the payment arrangements,
Mhm.
and she'll be flown in tomorrow for
Go over
3
these
days
real
witness
quick.
testimony. So
Who's next?
that's what we need to do.
So we had one certified in Florida?
No, they had several. This was, one that was able to actually cancel all of the assignments that she had already pre-booked and agreed to fly to Los Angeles.
Yeah, drop everything and fly in for trial tomorrow.
And for shorter hearings, Florida does sometimes use the language line.
Mhm.
So anything
Oh,
under
in the
15
courtroom?
minutes, we're able to use that
Mm.
remote connection.
Okay, well, thank you. And we're going to change gears here, and we're going to speed up a little bit because we really want to cover everything that we want to share with you. So I'm just going to give you a really brief synopsis of our journey with regards to language access. This is the kind of demographics that we're dealing with in California.
About 38.8 million people in California, and 20%, about 7 million Californians report speaking English less than very well. So again, that's the potential population that would be receiving interpreter services. Excuse me. At the state level, in 2013, the Joint Working Group for California Language Access Plan was created, and they went to task. That group was comprised of the Court Interpreters Advisory Panel, the Advisory Committee on Providing Access and Fairness, stakeholders from all parts of California, and a language access consultant. Within a year, that group had developed the strategic plan for language access in the California courts. The main goal was to incorporate language access as part of the court services. The draft was posted for public comment for a period of 3 months in 2014. There were public hearings held throughout the state, and the plan was finally adopted earlier this year. In January of this year was finally adopted. The plan has 8 strategic goals ranging from early identification of interpreter need to training of interpreters and language providers, funding, et cetera, and we are using a layered implementation because we're so large. Phase 1, we are in phase 1 right now. Phase 2 will take us through 2017, and we hope that all the recommendations will be implemented by 2020. If you want to review the Strategic Language Access Plan for California courts, at the end we give you a link to the Judicial Council website, and you'll be able to actually download the document. It's impressive. It has been the executive summary has been translated into 10 languages. So all the translations are available on the website as well. At the local level, there are 10.4 million people in Los Angeles County. 1 million lives in unincorporated areas. The other 9.3 live in 88 cities throughout the county. We have more than 140 distinct cultures in Los Angeles County, and we have more than 224 languages and dialects in Los Angeles County. 56.8% of the population speaks a language other than English at home. More than half of the population speaks another language. So what we did in LA County is we used the Strategic Plan for Language Access in the California courts as our roadmap. We identified the recommendations on that plan that pertain to Los Angeles County Court, We identified the responsible units and the responsible officers that would be developing and implementing those recommendations, and we developed a timeline for implementation. In some areas, we're probably ahead of other courts in California, but in some areas, we're probably going to be lagging behind, not because we don't want to or we don't have the desire to implement those recommendations. It's simply because of systems limitations, and I'll give you an example in a minute. So we'll be executing the recommendations, monitoring progress, and sharing the progress with the court staff, with the judicial officers, with justice partners, and the stakeholders in that community. So the next slide will actually give you an example of the document that we are using in LA Court. So as you see on the first column, we have the phase. Some of the recommendations spill over into different phases. So as you see, the second recommendation is in phase 1 and also into phase 2. The responsible units, comments for for us to include, what's happening with each recommendation, the implementation timeline, who's responsible, and the status of that recommendation. So as you can see, the number 1 is language access needs identification, and that is a very challenging area for us. It's in phase 1. The target is to complete in 2015, but we know we're not going to be able to simply because we have 22 separate case management systems, okay? And we don't have a means to identify those language needs early on. Now, we are developing new case management systems, but those will take us into at least 2 years. So we know that that one, for sure, we're not going to be able to implement by the end of this year because our case management systems are not able to record that kind of information. The other one, however, we can pretty much check off, which has to do with requests for language services. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're doing. I wanted to include this chart here to give you an idea of the many languages that we provide interpreters for. This is the list for 2014. We interpreted in 84 languages, not including dialects. There are many languages there that have multiple dialects. New to us in 2014 were Twi and Turkmen. Any given year, the list changes. All right. So.
And most of you probably aren't aware of this, but we also have the Department of Justice breathing down our back. Some of you may also. There has been a complaint, and they have been investigating and very close behind us for the last 4 or 5 years about why we're not providing language access services to litigants in those counties. So we are working very hard to keep them out of our shop. So how did we, what are we doing? How are we going to get this statewide mandate on language access to work in Los Angeles County? Well, the usual, right? Organizational realignment, operational changes, calendar restructuring, program enhancements, remote language assistance. Sounds like a lot of you are already doing this, which is you're lucky if you are. We have unions that slow us down with everything. All of our interpreter employees are union members, and they do not take kindly to language line in a courtroom. That's bargaining unit work. That's their work. So they are the only ones that can do that work. So they have no problem saying they would rather somebody go back to county jail for the night because we can't get the interpreter there today and bring them back out tomorrow when the interpreter can't get there. So that's kind of what we're dealing with on one side, and then we have the Department of Justice on the other side saying you're not providing enough service fast enough. So, so as you saw, we have a lot of employee interpreters. So the first thing we did is identify a new position of supervising court interpreters so that we could herd these interpreters and use our resources in the best possible way. Right now we did a pilot program to start out. It worked really well. The interpreters liked it, the supervisors liked it. We have 10 supervising interpreters now in Los Angeles County. And they are coached and mentored by 2 court operations managers. So you can imagine the challenges there. You take an interpreter and put a supervisor hat on them. you know, it's hard enough with line staff to put a supervisor hat and get them into training and get them up and running, but to then do that with a supervisor creates its own challenges. We did that. We did some operational changes. We closed a lot of courts in Los Angeles 2 years ago with the budget cuts that I'm sure everybody has suffered. But what happened with that is we closed the courts. The work doesn't go away. The work just gets pushed off to another location. So in Los Angeles, we've created what we call hub courts. So we have 6 courts located throughout the 38 locations, 6 individual courtrooms that hear nothing but small claims, 3 that hear limited civil, 5 that hear unlawful detainer cases or eviction cases, and 2 probates. So what does that do is that helps us point our resources into one location instead of having to send our Turkmen interpreter to 38 locations across the county. Not that we would send a Japanese or something. So that helped us. And you know, the litigation types are now consolidated, so that helps. It helps our resources. And then they may cover more than one courtroom and can be redeployed to cover other areas of litigation types within the same courthouse, which just sounds like what you do in Kentucky and probably all of the courts, right? Calendar restructuring, you know, like anything, it's getting your bench officers to agree to calendar restructuring. Schedule all your interpreter matters for 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. And that way we can use them over here in the morning and then use them over here in the afternoon. That's not always easy. Civil harassment, we pooled all those into the family law courtroom, so that helps with our resources. Program enhancements. Bench card, resource cards for courtroom clerks, internal and external language access complaint process, simultaneous interpreter equipment. little headsets that you see over there. Do all of your interpreters use the headsets when they do? That's good. Training for bench officers and court clerks, I think, as the judge said back there, right? Bench guide, and you have a sample of that here. And assess the workload assessments of our interpreters. Some of you may not have the same issues that we have. You know, we have 30 courtrooms and 5 interpreters. So we need to make sure they are being utilized where the need is and not wandering around somewhere in the hallway. Coming soon, we're working on some automated scheduling system within our area, well, my area, interest area, rolls over interpreters, but we also have court reporters, like research attorneys and law clerks, and
judicial assistants,
courtroom clerks. So we're trying to find a software that will schedule all of those people at one time. So you might bring up a court location and then a courtroom within that location, and you can see at a glance who the interpreter is, who the courtroom clerk is, and who the court reporter is for that day, and move those resources around. We are not yet.
Well, but it would still be the same employees, with more centrally located.
Right, but you need less if you're doing it by video, and that's a union issue.
Yeah. So we're I think Trish will touch on that in just a minute, but we are on the edge of that right now. We're starting the talks. We're trying to determine how we want that to work for us internally, and we're about ready to set a meeting with the union, and the Judicial Council of California is ready to launch a pilot program statewide. So we're trying to determine if LA is going to be in that or
The
not.
Ninth Circuit in Orlando, Florida, is really
Yeah,
they're the leaders.
we've done
Right.
a lot of research. Florida has a lot of great ideas.
In California, there's only one county that is currently doing video remote interpretation. That's Fresno. Okay, they were able to work out all the issues with the union, and they are actually using it.
So this is our bench guide, our bench card. The judge is back there. The judges like to have something at a glance to look at. We update it whenever needed and laminate it, and the judges have that handy dandy. Has some language and some code sections, because, you know, judges, they want show me the code section that tells me I have to do that. So we put that on there for them.
Borrowed from Orange County.
Borrowed from Orange County. Same thing with the judicial assistants, the courtroom clerks, or whatever you may call them in your shop. We have a guide that is for the judicial assistants. Remote language access. So we want to show this real quick.
Okay, so I'm going to run through audio remote interpreting at our public counters really quick because I want to get to the next slide, which is more exciting. So we are implementing audio remote interpreting at our 38 courthouses at 77 counters throughout the county. We are leveraging a contract that our Judicial Council has, and we're using dual set hand telephones. So any counter that has a telephone, we're adding a splitter, second handset. It's like $46 a counter.
That we can do because it's not bargaining unit work, it's outside of the courtroom.
Right.
We do it at our public counters, and the union has to say so.
Yeah, we're using non-certified interpreters, so it's about 99 cents a minute for the supervised, for the services. We also, yeah, there's a picture of a dual handset phone there. So we're just handing the customer one, the clerk has one, they have a three-way conversation, and we're rolling that out this summer. It's getting really close. These are the I Speak cards, which I believe are borrowed from Ohio. They'll use these at the counters to identify the language needed. And the next one is a language access card that tells the customer, hey, we're getting assistance for you. Okay, so this is our virtual language assistant, Gina. She is our traffic avatar project. She costs about, I've been getting a lot of flack for that. She basically asks a series of questions and based on the customer's response develops a triage. At the end of the triage, the customer can actually print out an information sheet that gives them directions on how to handle their citation. We're hoping, she does speak English and Spanish now, but we're hoping to expand in our top 5 languages very soon and also into other litigation types, but we're going to demo her. There we go.
Welcome to the first phase of the Los Angeles Superior Court Traffic Audio Help. We will add new features in later phases of the project. This audio help is easy to use and will assist you to complete your online traffic transaction. Please select your language. The available choices are English and Spanish.
So Raul's going to select Spanish, just so you can see.
Dependiendo de su situación individual, nuestros servicios en línea le permiten pagar su boleta de tránsito, solicitar prórrogas, pedir clases de educación vial, reservar una fecha de comparecencia en el tribunal o revisar el estatus de su boleta de tránsito. Para poder usar nuestros servicios en línea, deberá tener la información de la boleta de tránsito y de su licencia de conducir. Después de que usted introduzca la información de la boleta de tránsito de la licencia de conducir, aparecerán las transacciones en línea para las cuales...
So, anyway, like I said, inexpensive piece of technology. Yes, Nora? She is online right now, but I think we do have kiosks in some of our locations. We're looking at expanding that as well. So I'm anticipating she'll be available in the courthouses as well. It's relatively new for us, very new. So.
In fact, some of you probably know Snorri Ogata, right? He's our IT god, whatever he is. I don't know what his title is. He's debuting
CIO.
at CTC in September, for those of you that are going.
And this is part of our marketing campaign. We have wrapped our court vehicles with this. One side's in English, the other side's in Spanish. So we are really trying to push the usage. Very user-friendly, neat piece of technology. And here is a list of references. Some of the things we talked about, Ethnologue and A World of Languages, those types of things. If the presentation's not posted yet, it will be. We did send it in, so it is there. Okay, so it's there for your review, and feel free to use it.